Hi, today let's talk about renovating conservatory windows, UPVC windows. If you've got a conservatory like mine that is maybe 20 years old, you'll probably suffer some of the problems I've got here. So we've got blown glass window units, and a lot of them are gone. Some of these, in fact, most of them, I changed about 10 years ago. I'll say some of the reasons, talk about some of the reasons why they've blown again. I've listed about 11 aspects of renovating UPVC windows, particularly in a conservatory that gets very hot, which stresses them more than your house. Those 11 aspects, I'll zoom in up now and I'll touch on each one of those in this video. Aspect number one, rubber seals. So on this old style of UPVC window, you can see here that the outside rubber has shrunk, leaving gaps at the bottom, quite a few places. That results in water getting in the frame, sitting there for a long time. That can contribute to the units blowing, getting water and condensation in as the water gradually attacks the seal on the window, and also can lead to little bits of leakage. You can see here bits of mold showing, bits of black mold. The water, via capillary action, slowly comes under, gets through this joint between this sealing piece of plastic and the main frame, and can even drip onto your windowsill and ruin your wood and so on. The ideal way of doing it is to look at the profile of your rubber seals, buy some new ones. This is a pack of 30 feet or so for about £15. They've got on eBay, lots of different profiles on there to try and match up the one you've got, and then you can replace it. But one of the big problems with old rubber seals, apart from shrinkage, is that the action of the weather, particularly sunlight, degrades the rubber over many years. So we're talking about 20 years here, and it turns very black. Everything's, you touch it and it just gets everywhere. You wipe the window and black gets on the frame, which is very difficult to remove with normal cleaners. I'll come on how to clean it later. And the other issue is just from rain can carry the black deposits onto the frame and again stain it, making it pretty unsightly. So it's best to replace it with new seals. The next unusual aspect of window renovation is changing blown units. So this one here has got a lot of deposits inside, as well as water accumulating on the window. You can split the units apart once they've blown. Get a very sharp blade in a Stanley knife, such as this, and you can get it in between the glass and the insulating bar and just push down and separate the two. So here I separated this piece of glass from its aluminium spacer bar, and it did occur to me whether there's a possibility of cleaning them up and reassembling them, gluing them back together again with maybe some polymer sealant. But as you can see here, it's heavily stained. I initially thought maybe it was just calcium deposits from I don't know, the rain, or maybe the residue, the desiccant that's used in the spacer. And I tried all sorts of cleaners, limescale removers, normal, where's my window cleaner gone? Vinegar-based window cleaners around here somewhere. Other solvents like meths and so on. I tried using some abrasives to clean it off with some success, but not 100% success. The best way of doing it is take your blade out, have a new blade, run it across and basically cut off the deposits. But nonetheless, despite all of that, you can see on, this is the other half of the pane, just about C, I think. Yeah, there's some little streaks of deposits that are still on there, despite quite a lot of effort. The top is a little bit better, but it always tends to be worse at the bottom anyhow. So not a great solution to disassemble them and try and glue them back together again because of the difficulty of cleaning them. If it was just water, yes, I would say it would be possible. But if they're badly gone, like these ones, then you're never going to get 100% good result out of it. So if you're going to replace the double glazed window units, shop around. There's quite a few suppliers online now, and you need to know what to order. So you need to measure the width of your spacer bar. The spacer bar is this bit that goes in between the two panes of glass, has desiccant inside it, something that absorbs water. You need to know the thickness of the glass, what type of glass it is. So this is toughened. At this sort of height of window, where it's below waist height, you need toughened glass. These ones are 4mm, 20mm spacers, so 28mm in total. You need to know that depth. Obviously, you need to measure the height and the width of the unit, allowing a little bit of tolerance for expansion, heat expansion, and so on, and being able to fit it properly. And for movement, just measure the old glass pane and do the same measurements is the best plan. There's a lot of companies that make up double glazed units, DGUs. You could probably get a local company, might offer free delivery, might find that better, but compare with online as well. Now these windows at the top, which have also blown, those don't need to be toughened, I don't think, and certainly weren't toughened in the past. You can see here this one's cracked. If it was toughened, it would have shattered. And I'm not sure why this one cracked. Probably there wasn't enough clearance around the glass, so make sure you've got enough clearance to avoid stressing it, like has probably happened there. You might not have all of these problems or the same sort of window or frame design, but it's a better design because the rubber seal is not removed. I think it's almost moulded as part of the frame. The method of removing the window and these inner seals is nonetheless very similar. So in order to measure up for our new double glazed units that we want to get, we have to check the size of what's in there already. And once you're familiar with the design of the window, you could just measure up with these sealing pieces of plastic in place. But if you're unfamiliar, what you want to do is get some sort of scraper like this with a very thin edge to it so you don't damage the plastic too much. Get in the middle of your longest piece, push it out with a mallet. It won't bend out, and you can then get access to see the glass. If it's a bit more stubborn, once you've opened it up a bit, a screwdriver might be a little bit firmer, might help you to get this off. So then you can see the edge of the glass. Probably get a tape measure down there to measure the thickness of it as well. And then we'll do the same with the top piece. Then we can knock off the top piece a bit easier, just from one end. It's liberated by removing the other piece. Let's just take both of these out of the way. Then we can measure the width. For completeness, you might want to take off the bottom strip as well, but you can see the bottom of the glass there, and to work out the width and the height of the glass so you can order it. If you find these sealing pieces a bit difficult to remove, on these windows you can pull out the external rubber seal by getting to the outside and forcing a screwdriver into the gap, and then you can just pull. That was a bit too easy because I've already moved the spacer. Let's have a go at this one. Well, I haven't. So pull it into the gap and then just pull it out and it will come out. Now I used to put these seals back in the same way, thinking I need to do reassembly in the reverse order of disassembly, but I did find that this little piece of rubber here, you can see that, but this sticking out piece of rubber here should go in a slot in the UPVC, and by just pushing it in, then even if you use the screwdriver to push all the way under repeatedly, it looked like it was going home, but this piece of rubber wasn't actually going in the slot, and you can see this one's all like squashed down. And what happens is eventually, through thermal movement, they start popping out like this. So the correct way of doing it is to put the rubber seal in, then the window, then the inner UPVC seals, and then you're sure that our external rubber seals are in the correct slot and they don't come out. And there's enough give, there's enough space to be able to do that. So measure up your windows, order new ones. When they arrive, you can remove these and simply replace them by taking out all of the strips. Get somebody to push the glass at the other side if it's stuck. On some UPVC windows I've seen, the sealing piece of strip is on the outside, and on the inside they have adhesive rubber. So it needs a push, and it needs to put a blade in between the rubber seal and the glass to just cut the hold. And you need somebody to push it outside. These come on inside, and there's no double-sided adhesive or anything, so it's a lot easier. So that's all fairly straightforward. I will take this one out and just talk on some of the reasons why they failed in the first place. And if you do remove the external rubber, it's a lot easier then by giving the window a bit of a shove to remove these inside seal pieces, and then the window will just lift out, find somewhere safe to put that. Bit of old carpet is a useful way of making a nice soft landing for your glass user work on it. Let's next talk about why the glass blue. So signs of a lot of water getting under here. This is all wet, mouldy. Water's also getting past the rubber seal. Because the rubber seal has shrunk, then obviously it gets in the corners, get bits of mold growing as well. The water can get to near this plastic piece of seal. This is all wet, probably just capillary action. It draws up there and you get mold growing on the edge, you can see here. And as I say, it can drip on the window ledge. Don't worry about this piece of plastic. This is a piece I put in recently just to stop water that was coming through this edge going onto the windowsill. It basically diverts the water into a little gutter, and part of my repair of this window was putting a tray under the window to direct water onto the outside. Not the prettiest thing, but it's a way of improving the waterproofness of the window without completely removing all of the UPVC units. And then if we look at the outside lower edge of the window, these windows, which I don't really like, after the sealant's been put on, they're covered with this sort of gaffer tapes type of stuff. But as you can see, it's peeled away from the glass, so the water's been coming down here, going through the seal, then sits at the bottom of this tape, which forms a little U-channel, was like that. So the water's sitting there all the time, and eventually it breaks down the seal between the glass and the sealant, some sort of butyl rubber sealant or something. And then your glass is blown, and then you're getting all marks and condensation on the inside of the glass. I've seen one of my other windows that's lasted a lot longer and is a lot older used metal tape on the outside, so it doesn't suffer from this problem of detaching from the pane. The glue also goes a bit manky. This stuff, which is the glue from the tape, not only detaches from the tape itself, but in places can go all like gooey and sticky and makes a bit of a mess. So I don't like these tapes at all. They use quite a lot. Mainly to protect your hands from the sharp edge of the glass when you're handling the glass, but it does serve to accentuate the problem of water making the seal go. And you can see here by the different colour of the seal against the glass, gone grayer, whereas right on the edge it's sort of black where it's still attached. Where it's grey, that means there's a gap between the glass, which you can see. If we get a knife, you'll probably find that they'll just slip straight in there. We get past the tape, yeah, pretty much. It's very easily going in between there, and that's the way you would split the glass off if you want to split it. So you work that all the way along. Sometimes it'll be dead easy to do. Sometimes it needs a bit of pushing. Make sure you've got a sharp blade. Do that all the way around, then you'll be able to separate the two paints if you want to. Before refitting the seals in the window, obviously you want to clean up all of this mold and rubbish there. A bit of bleach would be quite nice. Often on windows, you'll see here there's a rusty screw, and the seal, if there is any seal around this, can deteriorate with the weather, water, and water can get down through the window frame, through the sill, because probably this screw goes all the way through the sill into the brickwork, and then you can get water getting into the brickwork. Sometimes you can get that appearing on the inside or on the edges of the sill. So you want to reseal around that. Ideally, you don't really want these screws going down into the sill, but on very long runs, then for stability, a little bit difficult to avoid that. But after I've cleaned this up, to stop the water coming from the outside edge to the inside, I'll put a little silicone wall, a little bit of seal all the way down here, and then any water that gets in this part should hopefully go out the drains of the window, which are there. And if you want to cut your double glazing apart, the very cheapo, perhaps podgy way of fixing a blown double glazed unit is just convert it to single glazed. So this one here is now single glazed. This is one of the original double glazed units that hasn't blown. And from a quick look, you can't really tell the difference between the two. Obviously, you're missing the thermal insulation, but in this conservatory that gets too hot now, that's not really a major consideration. You do miss 4mm of spacing that because you're missing one of the glass panes. So it sort of fits okay, but it's a little bit loose. What I really want to do is get some plastic spacers and jam them in there between this original window spacer bar and the UPVC, which I might do on some of these top windows. That is another one that's just now single pane. The insulation effect is going to be very little, probably not really noticeable from a cosmetic point of view either. It was like that before all condensed up. Beauty of a single pane is it's never going to blow again. So it's up to you what you want to do. So that's it, a bit cleaned up. New rubber seals on all the way around. Bit of silicone bead wall under the bottom. Stop the water getting on the inside of the frame. And sealed off over any screw holes in the bottom as well. And don't forget to put your pane spacers back in place as well.
And that's most of the double glazed units replaced with new rubber seals. This is the last one, just put the rubber seal in position, and decided for an extra bit of sealing, put a bit of silicone seal just on the inside edge on top of the rubber, because it's surprising how much water seems to find its way past these rubber seals and sit in the bottom, which contributes to the double glazed unit eventually getting condensation in the middle of it. So the more water you can keep out of the frame, the better. So particularly concentrated around getting some silicone seal on the joins, just a little spread on the top in the corner, and just in the corners at the top as well, just hold it in place. Eventually the rubber will shrink with age, and by securing it in the corners, then hopefully it'll keep it in position. When you apply the rubbers, try not to stretch them into position. If anything, slightly compress them, and then hopefully they'll last longer. So you don't put too much silicone on, so the silicone oozes out the edges, stays under the level of the rubber, and then you don't make too much of a mess on the window. And it doesn't really show up from the inside either. So I've just got a last bit of finishing off the seal on this last window. These are quite easy to put in. So just got that last one, just got to bend, roughly push it into place. And now I found quite useful is to have this non-marking piece of plastic, and then we can just tap it home like this. Do the corners first so that they get into the correct position, and then you'll find tap home the rest of it into place. Give the window a bit of a shove, push those seals, and that is it, job done. So everything is now pretty much renovated. A lot of the glass panes have been replaced. Some of them, you can't really tell. The top ones, most of them just converted to single panes because it gets too hot in here anyhow, and that helps get some of the heat out.
The final thing that's worth mentioning in terms of water getting into a conservatory is on sills, you can get water going down to the end of the sill, getting into the brickwork, and then penetrating inside of the building. And what I found also surprising, underneath this bit of UPVC, there's obviously got to be sealed in, properly finished off, but there's normal brick wall, which is rendered, painted. Well, it's surprising how much water gets through the brickwork of a wall, even when it is regularly painted, and then penetrates the wall on the inside. And there was a bit of a damp patch in the corner of the wall, and that turns up at this UPVC covering the wall on the outside. That's ceased, so look out for that. And also, of course, if you've got a conservatory joined onto a wall, then that is also a critical area where water can get in. And again, it's surprising how much water penetrates a painted wall and gets into the brickwork and then eventually materialises and comes out in the wall below. It's taken me quite a few years of waterproofing, diagnosing to fix this issue. So the wall above, I've heavily waterproofed with some waterproofing sealant. Caps at the top of the wall, also painted the other side of that breeze block wall, stop water getting into the brickwork and coming into the room below. Even though there is lead, you can't see it from this angle, but there's lead cut into the wall and overlapping into the gutter that's between the conservatory and the wall. Because it was retrofitted after the wall was built, the lead doesn't go all the way through the wall. So there is a route for the water to bypass the wall and, as I say, come out below. Finally, I've got to the, finally I managed to fix it, but it does need a lot of waterproofing in the wall above.
Right, good luck with yours. Thanks for watching. And if you find it useful, maybe consider subscribing to my channel for other useful bits of DIY advice. Thanks, bye.